Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Thank you as always for your tweets. Look who's here. Ali, Stevie and Jules. Jules, I saw you mentioned in a thread on Twitter, people suggesting you are the best footballer amongst the journalists. Is that something you would concur with?
With all my modesty, as you know, which is legendary, of course, us Parisian people are not arrogant at all. I can say yes, probably, at least with the ones I've played here in the UK. I'm not sure about people who work in the US, for example, but we have a few good journalists playing here. But yeah, I'm the best by far.
Stevie, do you just think?
What is good? Hold on. What does good mean? What are we talking here?
Better than Gab. Better than Gab. That's the bar.
Better than Gab. Okay.
Better than Gab,
I just wondered where we were.
I can say that.
Yeah.
Stevie, do you think journalists are just bitter that they never became footballers? That's why they're always looking to stitch you up.
No, I actually don't think that they're bitter that they never became players, but I do think for some reason, because I always think to myself, you know what? I hear people saying, well, I've been watching the game for 30 years, right? I know a little bit about it. I'm saying, well, hold on a second. I've been going to movies for 30 years, but I've no idea how to act, how to make a movie, how to produce it, how to direct it, or how to go about getting actors. So just because you look at something for 30 years, don't mean you know anything about it.
Ah, Steve, I think you make a great casting director. That'd be good. What is that? What's happened? What's happened behind you there? It looks like you've taken a bit out of your shelf.
Oh, do you know what it is? I was doing. I did a couple of things for one of the sports centres, and they weren't happy because there was a couple of bottles of champagne there.
Oh, right, I see.
So I had to remove them. I just haven't got. Here, wait, I'll put them back for you.
No, but what is it, Stevie?
A couple of old man in the matches done a few years
lovely.
ago.
But it looks like it's just a big. Is it it's a shadow? Is it?
No, I don't think it's a shadow. There's a part missing.
Over
shelf.
your left shoulder, Stevie. Oh, God, what happened?
How's that?
Yeah.
Right, see, look.
Right. Well, Stevie organises that. Jules.
See, it looks as though it looks so much better, doesn't it?
Yeah. Jules, can Barca sign Erling Haaland?
Well, they will need to find a lot of money for that. Right now, they don't have the money to sign him whatsoever. In 3 months' time, if Joan Laporta works his magic, if maybe they manage to save some money somewhere, if they've got investment coming in, that's a lot of if already. Mm-hmm. Then maybe they could find the money. But we're talking easily between 100 and 150 million euros. And as we know, the following summer, 2022, there's that release clause of 75 million that kicks on. But right now, this is the price we're talking. So they will have a lot of money to find, considering they've got over $1 billion in debts.
Wow.
But I guess it's not impossible.
I don't want to go into too much detail, Jules, but if I'm $1 million in debt, where am I going to get 150 million from to buy Haaland? Surely I need to address that first.
So that's, as you know, in football clubs, this is manageable. You could always find a way. The issue is the cash flow and how much money you could actually invest in players trading. So they might have to sell, and let's say they sell Coutinho and Griezmann. Not sure who would buy them and what kind of prices. But if they sell them both, you would think that maybe they can raise. They can definitely raise some money to then go and spend it on Erling Haaland. There's no problem with that. But again, that's another if. So there's a lot of if. But I guess there could be a way, but they will have to be very ingenious in the way they find that money, or again sell quite a few players at a good price for good deals to be able to afford someone like him.
Ali, what do you think of Wenger's suggestion that the Euros and World Cups should be played every 2 years?
No, Arsene, you had too much time in your hands.
Yeah.
The World Cup becomes a special competition because of the fact, due to the idea that you have to wait 4 years. It's the anticipation. It's a qualification process. It's everything that goes into the World Cup and representing your country and what it means. Just leave the World Cup alone. There's nothing wrong with the World Cup. Just stop messing around with it and just allow the teams to go out there, prove themselves, represent their countries, and entertain all of us.
Ali, how good can Vinicius be if he improves his finishing? Why does Zidane... Why is Zidane unable to do that?
I have to imagine, obviously, and I'm not at the training facility at Real Madrid, but I have to imagine that the coaching staff for Zinedine Zidane, if not Zidane himself, pulls Vinicius aside after training and says, "Here we go, Vinny. Vinny, come over here, buddy. Let's go shoot on goal. All right? Here we go. We're going to take some crosses. We're going to cut inside. We're going to shoot some balls on target. We're going to do repetition here. Let's do that 20 minutes a day after training, and we'll see if it improves." I have to imagine that that's happening. If that's not happening, you can address that with Zidane directly. But assuming that that's happening, it's not making a difference on the field. And it's not making a difference because this is a kid that gets himself in so many good positions, much like Ousmane Dembele does for Barcelona. They get themselves in so many good positions, but it's the decision that they make in the end that is so flawed. Sometimes when you have to shoot it, they pass it. When it's time to pass it, they shoot it. They shoot it from no angle, and when there is an angle, they decide not to shoot it. It's an amazing decision-making process that you see Vinicius go through, and you see it happening because he has so much time and space with it because of the speed that he has that you see it. He's like, should I shoot it? Should I pass it? Should I shoot it? Should I pass it? Should I shoot it? Should I pass it? Freak out, and nothing happens.
From a coaching perspective, Stevie, can you do anything about that?
He's a kid. He needs time. He needs time. He's got all the ability in the world. What's going on between his ears hasn't all quite connected yet. That's the only thing that's missing. He's a kid. I mean, it's not his fault that he gets taken for, what was it, 40 million as a 17-year-old or something crazy. And because of that, everybody thinks that, well, they paid 40 million for him, then he should be able to do this, he should be able to do that. You know, some players take longer than others, and as long as you see a young player trying, as long as you see him every time he makes a mess of it, he steps up and has another go, and steps up and has another go, then you just keep working with him and keep encouraging them. So yeah, he just hasn't quite connected everything between his ears, but when he does, and hopefully it's soon, he'll be incredible.
What do you guys make of Manchester United, Jules, appointing a technical director in Darren Fletcher?
Well, I would like to say finally, because it's been going on for years. This is should we, should not we, sporting director, technical director, call it whatever you want. I mean, they did both. I mean, we waited for so long for them to do something and not have Ed Woodward deciding of everything. And they came out with two things: a sporting director, director of he's not a sporting director. He's a director of football or something like this. John Murtough, who was there with David Moyes, brought him to the club from Everton, who did a really good job there. I'm not really sure exactly what he's been doing for the last 7 years at United, but hey, I hope he's competent. And then Darren Fletcher. I believe Darren Fletcher being so close to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, that's probably a bit of, okay, one is closer to Ed Woodward, that's Murtough. Fletcher is closer to Solskjaer, and together they're going to try to work this out. Transfers, dealing with the players on loan, for example, the youth, the academy, the youth players, etc., etc. I think this is a good step forward for United, as long as one, they're competent, two, they know what they're doing, and three, they can work with each other together.
Jules, what were you saying during Jules' answer, Stevie?
So what does he do? I mean, he kind of got there in the end.
Oh,
but then is this not a case of how Ollie got the job in the first place? We're sitting here, particularly right now, we're talking about Chelsea, how great they're doing. Everybody says, oh, what a great job Tuchel's doing, and showing how Frank wasn't experienced and this and that and that. And that's all we always say that. Whenever there's a player with a name gets a big job early on, without any real grounding as far as the craft's concerned, we're always questioning, are they going to be any good? And so it shouldn't be any different to the job that Darren Fletcher's getting. Now, I don't know Darren Fletcher. Darren Fletcher, at a young age, might be fantastic as this director of football. But I would suggest when when Jules is saying, well, what he has to do is he has to work with the manager, to get players, to get transfers. He has to work with the chairman to do this. He has to work with the academy to do this. It sounds like a job that I think needs a bit of experience, and I'm not quite so sure that Darren has that experience. Again, I don't know the guy. He might turn out to be fantastic, but it seems a bit of a gamble for such a young guy to be thrown into basically a business where there's plenty of sharks around ready to eat up somebody that's not quite sure of their surroundings yet.
Why does Messi rarely get injured because of dribbling, but Neymar a lot, Ali?
Why doesn't Messi get injured because of dribbling and Neymar does? Well, part of it has to do because when Messi is dribbling somebody, he is not doing it to make fun of the guy or humiliate the guy that he's dribbling. Now, Neymar has had a habit of dribbling a guy, waiting for that guy and try to dribble him again and put it between his legs, and then he's going to talk to him about it and smile, and eventually some guy is going to say, you know what, enough is enough. I'm gonna come to try to break you in half. And if enough guys make that decision, somebody is gonna hurt him. And we have seen that back tackle after back tackle, Neymar has brought it upon himself. And I don't necessarily blame Neymar. That's the way he wants to play, so be it. But you can't blame the other players that decide to say, I've had enough and I'm gonna break you in half. It kind of comes with the territory of being the sort of player that Neymar is.
Jules, what kind of form do you expect at the Euros from guys like Pogba, Griezmann, Martial? Inconsistent club minutes and form.
I mean, we've seen in the past, especially with France, but with other countries as well, that the form some players had in their season domestically almost went out of the window when they joined the national team for a big competition like this. I mean, it's pretty simple. One season is over 60 games for the top players and top clubs. A World Cup is over 7 games if you go all the way. It's far easier to be consistent over 7 games than to be consistent over 60 games. This is just pure logic. But I also think that in the case of Paul Pogba, for example, that going back with the national team, and we've said it many times on the show, has always been, especially when things are a bit difficult at United, a breath of fresh air. This is family, very much so. This is the friends, some of it being his best friends. Him and Deschamps have a very special relationship. Deschamps gave him his debut with the national team. So there's a lot of things there that make you feel maybe better than when you're with your club, especially when things are not going well for your club. And then in this environment of preparing for a World Cup or Euros, being right there in that kind of bubble where you're all together when things are starting well, for example, then I think the momentum get you going. And when you've got that kind of talent and your team is doing so well, I think that helps you a lot. So it's not surprising that some of them do much better in those kind of competition than the season before with their clubs. And if you talk about the French one, I'm really hoping that this will be similar this summer again.
Ali, has this 3 at the back system used by Koeman helped older players like Alba and Busquets now that they have more defensive cover and can focus on the offensive aspect of their game?
Well, it has brought more numbers in the midfield, and it has shortened the spaces that a guy like Busquets has to cover. But more so than anything, the reason I think that he goes to a back 3 and the 2 wing backs on the left-hand side and the right-hand side and the freedom for Des to get forward and Alba to get forward is the fact that that pushes Dembele further up the field in a more central position. He can then use his speed to run in behind, and stretching the back line and pushing the back line forward creates more space for Lionel Messi underneath. That's more space that Messi can use in order to pick out a pass, dribble at people, go to goal. It affords Messi more time, and it affords Barcelona more options in the attack.
Final question. Seeing highlights of the NCAA basketball tournament, there was a parent recording his kid with his iPad. How were your parents when they watched you play in the matches during the early parts of your career? Did they do anything embarrassing? Stevie?
Well, they've got to be there first, haven't they?
Yes.
If you're not there, you can't embarrass yourself. I think I remember. I think I was 10. My dad came to see me once in Troon, and then I think he came and saw me once at Ayr United, and I think he came and saw me once for Liverpool, and I think he came and saw me once for Scotland.
Wow.
So on those, 4 occasions?
Yeah.
No, he didn't embarrass himself.
God,
and there was no such
Stevie.
thing as iPads or phones.
Were you disappointed that he don't? I feel like we're going down sort of a psychologist route here.
I was doing therapy, you know what?
How did that make you feel?
The only reason I'm
Stevie?
smiling is to cover my heartache over my father not coming to the games.
Right, let's see where we go with Ali with this. Ali?
My mom would not come to the games because she would become very nervous when I was playing. My dad did come to the games always, and when I was a young kid, he would actually tape the games. And back in those days, the camera recorders, were those big old things that you put over your shoulder, and it was like the VCR tape would pop in, and so he would.
You were posh then, huh?
He would film the games.
You were posh.
He would film the games.
Wait, big time.
What was? Well, you know, Stevie, you know, it's a country club life. Stevie,
No, I
you know.
don't. No, I don't.
Stevie
no.
doesn't.
I know. Hey, listen, my old man asked me to pay petrol money to take. I asked him to drive me to a game once because I was late, and he wanted petrol money off me.
Oh dear.
Well, in any case, the point of the story is that my dad would film the games, and then I would go home and watch them. And I scored, and I thought I was the greatest ever. So it's the only way that my mom would watch my games. After she knew whether we had won and if I had played well, then she would go and watch the parts in which I was doing well, and then she would celebrate. This was about 10 hours after the game had been over.
And what do you like as a parent watching your kids play, Jules?
I'll be honest. I find it really hard to watch them and not opening my big mouth about everything about what they do. It's all in French, so no one understands apart from me and them, obviously.
Yeah.
My wife is really embarrassed when I talk too much, but I think it's fascinating. You know, Thierry Henry always says that his dad was so tough on him. His dad would come to watch every game when he was a kid, when he was 10, 11, before he went to Monaco Academy, and Thierry could score 5, 6 goals. On the way home, that could take 45 minutes, the dad would literally grill him and destroy him on all the things that he missed. He scored 6 goals, but yet he missed a couple of chances, and the dad was on his case the whole time. And he said that pushed him. I believe for some children, maybe there could be the counterproductive effect, and the other way around, that, you know, your dad being on your case all the time, never saying that what you did was great, even if you saw 6 goals at high level, that like Thierry was doing, and Thierry was clearly a very, very talented kid anyway. That could also backfire, I guess. It's quite fascinating, I think, at that age to see the relationship between father and son, especially, maybe mothers as well, but father and sons, and their reaction to how you play, where you play, what you do during the game, if they're loud, if they're quiet, what they say afterwards. In Ali's case, I think it's helping if you debrief with your dad. In Thierry's case, I'm not sure how helpful that was, but then that made him so determined to always prove him wrong, that I think there was some good, I guess, in that, although they had a very difficult relationship through his life, through his career. So I find it quite fascinating, to be fair.
Your Michael must have played sports, Stevie. What were you like on the sidelines? Did you bother going or not bother?
No, I went all the time. To be honest, when he played football, our football, I was pretty. I just watched the game. I never used to get excited or anything. I just used to watch. I actually used to get nervous because he went to college and played American football. So I actually used to be on the edge of my seat watching the American football, where our football, I was just chilled out. It didn't bother me at all.
Because he was a kicker, yes, Stevie?
He was a defensive end, Daniel, and he kicked as well. But,
oh, he did kick, yeah.
Well, because he kicked a winning field goal from like 45 yards or something. That's why you probably remember me telling you. But no, he was a defensive end. So yeah, I was always on the edge of my seat. And they were all smashing into each other and all that nonsense.
And Ali, I've seen you with your boy. You are harsh on him. You are the Thierry Henry father role.
No, I am not.
Oh, he's
I am not,
is he?
Dan. None at all. That is not true. Not at all. When I do go to the games and I try to be there as much as I possibly can, I do stand by myself, and that's because I don't like listening to other parents. Simple as that. I'm simply not a friendly guy. I've said that many times, and I don't deny it. Some of the things that some of these parents say are just ridiculous, and I cannot stand it. So I go and stand by myself, and I'll stand there. And as Stevie said, which I never thought I would hear Stevie say this, I'm chilled out. I'm chilled out watching the game. That's all I do, and I support as best as I can. I'll yell just supportive things. There was a time in which it was a little bit more difficult, but then I said, you know what? He's just going to play on his own, and whatever he achieves in this game is going to be up to him. I'm just going to be a supportive parent.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Hey, Dad.
Go on,
Dad,
Steve.
did I tell you a story about my Michael playing for the pub team down in New Orleans?
Yes,
we were
you did. Yeah, go on,
pre-season with the Revs.
Say it again.
And we were in New Orleans, right? And he was playing for the pub team. And he said, are you going to come and watch? I said, aye. So me and Paul Mariner went down to watch. And so he was playing at the back, and then he played centre forward as well. And actually with 10 minutes to go, he fell and dislocated his shoulder. And we were laughing. And he was lying on the ground with his arm like that. And this girl had hold of his arm and pulled it in, right? And then he was like, oh. So we went back on the field. So we came off after the game finished, and we're walking back to the car. And he said to me, he goes, Dad, he says, can I ask you something? I said, what is it? He went, am I as bad as the rest of them? And I went, aye. And we walked off. Oh, brilliant. Yeah. You see his face, he went like that.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.